Hello, good day. I am together with my esteemed guests. We are going to have the best application examples of digitalization. You know that smart cities technologies has elements of application and adaptation, and all of the systems being used to increase efficiency for the whole city. This is an entire planning, a strategy, and insight. We have to follow technology and increasing the skills about this. All the examples that we see in the world, when the success stories are shared, they create an inspiration, and using this success as an input, it shows that very valuable work can be done. I would like to thank everyone for entering our panel. Dr. Fatih Gündoğan will be starting our panel. He's the General Manager of Electronic Assistive Systems. He's going to talk about these smart technologies, about the digitalization of cities and strategies. Hello, I think our chairman has been connected. If his voice is coming, there's a problem with the connection. With your permission, I will continue. Hello, one more time. MARUF is an application of life fits into the house. We are going to listen to MARUF at home. I will talk about the relation between digitalization and smart cities and our project regarding smart cities. I'm the general manager of smart cities in my company. For a long time, I'm running the consultancy projects on smart cities. I would like to talk about Asis. It was established in 2007, and the technology is being used since 1985. We have a company called Asis Guard in the defense industry. We have information, we have work on fintech, and on smart cities. We are having an advisory company. Regarding cities, we have electronic fee collection, passage control system, security technologies. We have mobile applications. We establish platforms for the administration of. We are trying to use scooters in cities, and we're working on data analysis. Smart cities, we have different sustainable, better, or livable cities, digital cities. Digital cities and smart cities are confused. Smart cities, actually, all of the ones you see on these pictures here, it's going to be efficient, sustainable, and environmental, easy, and easy city to live in is what we try to offer to our citizens. Some nice examples. Anthony Ivers told a story. That's also a project of Barcelona for a button for the old people. Whether or not they walk or they take their medications is monitored. The granddaughter asks how nice it is, grandmother. And the comment, technology, Mario, what is technology? We're using technology, but on the other side, it solves a problem for the citizen. Another example that I like very much, the Boston Mayor Thomas Menino, where Republicans and Democrats are. Thomas Menino entered the elections without a rival. He buys a bed the next morning. Did you sleep well last night? He turns to his team, says, why shouldn't we do this? Why should we not ask the citizen? When we offer a service, when we pour asphalt, when we buy a new bus, are you happy with this bus? This is an important component of smart cities. It has to do with the satisfaction of the citizen. When we look hierarchically, there are things we want to do. We want to have a safe city, a sustainable city. Along with this, since the 1960s, there's governance and democracy. With governance, the demands of the citizens working with the citizen must be done fully. What do we need for governance? We need data. To provide this data, we need technology. We need mobile applications. We have the IoT, the Internet of Things, and there's a hierarchic side of smart cities in 2007, and definition is created. In 2007, technology companies, IBM, started working in two separate cities. For these reasons, the Boyd Cohen, a researcher of smart cities, the smart city is 1.0. It's old. In the second one, there are leaders. There are leader mayors. They call companies and they say, we need to make this city smart. In 3.0, by listening to the NGOs, and we call it Smart Cities 3.0. You could see 3.0, 2.0. There are places with 1.0. And look at smart cities hierarchically. There should be a transformation project. Where is it and where is it going? With maturation levels and indexes, we need to take it from one place to another. Small improvement projects can take place. Urban transformation projects can take place. In many parts of the world since 1960s, new cities are established. Along with smart cities, more IoT and data management in software, and we need to do a smart city work where citizen satisfaction is high. In 23 December 2019, the presidency directive went into force, and this scope, and we have to be loyal to this document. Definition was made in 2000, and since then, NGOs, those working with smart cities, technology companies, make definitions. One of these definitions is, we did it in the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality in 2016. Now, the Ministry of Environment and Urban Development, cooperation between stakeholders, offering new technologies, and by foreseeing problems and requirements, producing solutions that add value to life. And the components of smart cities are parts of Voltron. Our generation knows this. There are smart people, smart environment, and all of them we need to provide improvement, but they need to be considered together. It's not just going to be on silos. We did this with environment and with the transportation. They should work together. There are 16 components from energy, transportation, and to smart buildings. This is a study that the Ministry of Environment and Urban Development did. We started with 81 municipalities. It's a guiding project. As I mentioned, it starts with the definition, the examination of smart cities in the world, its relationship with technology, training on the smart transportation, and the digitalization side of this business. The financing reporting were prepared. Training was provided to our municipalities. Now we're binding the volumes. When these are finished, there's an 11,000-page smart city volumes. It can be downloaded from their web address. They've all been translated into English. This work has been completed. What else have we done on the technology side? The terminology and the data dictionary are important. And also the technology architecture of Turkey on smart cities was done. Which data will be shared in which format? Let's say you want to do a priority for mass transit, and you have ambulance management center, you have the mass transit administration, there is police. Which data will they share in which format? We did a study on this in the framework of smart cities. We then working together, and we created an item and model. And what we have to do next is to examine these guides, because systems in different formats should not be carried out. Let's say the ministry has a data sharing format. When creating the Internet of Things, their communication protocol, how they should be done with looking at the work that our ministry has carried out. I don't want to go on for too long. I talked about what we have done regarding digitalization. I just shared my views. I'll be happy to. It's a very nice day and very good presentations.
Thank you very much, Fatih Bey. It was very much enlightening, and you have pointed out one point. The first one is the smart cities are really directly related with the happiness of the citizens. We need to define it from this perspective. This is essential to be described like that. And secondly, innovation and innovative way of thinking should be a cultural incentive, a cultural mindset, and all of the information and knowledge, and also the Turkish content and Turkish terminology, and also the contributions and to the international literature are very important for your study. We would like to thank you, and I will be very curious to read 11,000 pages. Şadi Bey has just arrived, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he's here with us. We have had a technical problem with Şadi Bey. I would like to apologize. I'm participating from a different place. I'm outside the city and I'm having connection problems. We've had a technical problem with Şadi Bey's connection, so we will continue with Avcılar Municipality, Avcılar Mayor. Turan Bey will be with us. Turan Bey, Avcılar Municipality do have very successful digital transformation processes. I know them very closely in different projects at different levels. I've had a chance to hear you, listen to you, so let's listen it from your side once more. I would like to thank everyone, and I would like to express my great respect to our audience and panel speakers hope that MARUF will be successful and contributing for our municipalities. As you have just mentioned, digitalization and smart cities are the sources of happiness. And when we speak about digitalization and smart cities, they are being used in order to have efficiency and also productivity. And in the developing world, if you are not able to cope with these changes and integrate them, and if we cannot digitalize as municipalities, the sources will not be enough and will not be efficient, will not be productive and effective, and we cannot manage effectively. And the cities that we manage will not be happy. The people of these cities will not be happy. Digitalization and smart city processes are somehow obligatory, mandatory. If we do not do them, if we are not becoming successful, will not be present. So somehow we need to be active and we need to carry on active projects. It's a mandatory situation for all. And within this scope, we carry on some activities. I have prepared a video to show it doesn't have any speaking content, but you can show what we have done in the background. In 2019, when we were elected, we were having a digital infrastructure for a long period of time. These digital systems were the municipality. Digital systems were being used by the municipalities. Digital archives and also electronic tracking systems and administrative systems have started to be used. From the very first day, we have thought that we need to work in this field, and we were, of course, urged to follow Industry 4.0 in different parts of the world. Okay, of course, they name it in different ways, but we were obliged to cope with these changing dynamics, changing situations. The prior condition, the preliminary condition of digitalization is having an internet, a healthy infrastructure. An effective internet infrastructure is essential to be owned. And additional to that, all of our archives, and starting from the construction activities and licensing and registration processes, have been totally digitalized. And we have started to control our processes on digital platforms. 360-degree video shoots of the city and the region. Avcılar's digital copy was produced, and we are about to complete our project. And one of the major things in digital infrastructure is these softwares. And we have got a software team. This directorship has been the major recruitment source. We have started to recruit software engineers, and we have started to create our own softwares, our own contents. 50% of the computers are having Avcılar software. And until 2024, we aim to reach to the level of 100% in using our own softwares. Using our own software does not mean that we will ignore the other effective softwares in the market. We are also making use of them. And from the very first days, we have been awarded by Marmara Municipalities Union with our digital library. digital library's name is Read Avcılar, Oku Avcılar. Why we have named it as Oku Avcılar? The main reason of this is... Can you hear me clearly? Any problem with my voice? No, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. No problem, we can hear you. Why we have named it as Oku Avcılar? Our holy book's first ayat, the first word is read. Reading and education is very crucial. So 30,000 books have been opened to Avcılar citizens. By inputting their ID numbers and passwords, they are able to access this digital library. Ministry of Education have been in coordination of this activity, and students are able to access, teachers are able to access. By making use of digital library, they are giving assignments to the students, and they are following which books they are reading. Whether the students are reading or not can be followed from and monitored from this system. We do have such kind of a digital library infrastructure, and it's on live. And by the help of this library, thousands of Avcılar people have had the opportunity to access millions of books without any fee. It was a very important and efficient data usage. By opening non-digital libraries at some certain regions of the country would not be as accessible as this digital library, and they are very expensive and they are very costly. But in the digital library, it is possible to access a book for within 30 seconds. But in order to go to a physical library, they have got transportation costs, they have time costs, they have also many other sub-costs. So a digital library is a cost-effective solution, not only for the efficiency of our municipality, but also for Avcılar people, Avcılar citizens. It was a very effective and time-friendly type of access to millions of books, millions of sources. And major services that we provide is the cleaning services. In cleaning services, waste collection vehicles are actually rotation, and their collection activities, and also cleaning of these waste lorries, waste vehicles, are also being followed from the digital platforms, from the big data sources. So we have started to make use of these big data source. We have savings from fuel, we have savings from the working staff, we have savings from the cleaning procedures and operations. So we have started to take faster steps on this side. And for a long period of time, in our internal communication, we were using some certain facilities, but we have found out a new communication model, and both during the natural disasters, we have got a system which operates, and also we have created the communication mechanism. What we value a lot is the collection of data. Collection of data is very important, digitalization, and also becoming a smart city's main feature. Today's biggest value is, of course, having information and managing that information with the systems that we establish. It is possible us to integrate this information and multiply it. And by making use of digital tools, by making use of computers, these big data are becoming meaningful, transforming into meaningful data, and from those data we are taking some actions, and also a communication center was also established 7 days, 24 hours, and 660 degrees. We are hearing the sound of the city. Not only limited with phones, but via WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok, and from the other access channels, it is possible to listen to city and city people, and all of the presented problems and demands are very effectively and fastly responded and solved. So we do have the chance of this. Of course, once more I would like to mention, I know I'm about to end up my time, once more I would like to express that digital world and is a mandatory situation, mandatory condition. We should somehow catch it and we should go beyond it. As long as we accomplish that, we can speak about the real administration of the cities, and our people will be happier, and efficient source usage will be possible. Environment and nature will be having less harm, and we will be having less carbon footprint. And we will have a chance to do better jobs and work in better conditions. I would like to thank you for providing me this opportunity. If you have any question, I may respond it gladly. Thank you. That's all from my side. Thank you very much, Turan Bey, especially this digital library. As an academician, really excited me a lot. Do you have any idea about the usage ratios? What do you mean by usage ratios? How many people have used it lately, and how many books have been reread it? Yes, it is possible to follow it. Lately, 90,000 users have accessed our system. Of course, it is free of charge for Avcılar people, but for the people who are demanding to read it and who would like to use it outside the region, from different parts of the world and from different parts of Turkey, it is possible to have a subscription. We are opening our library right at the moment. We are beyond 90,000 as far as I know. Since the schools were not open, we were having distance education, and this was an advantage and also a disadvantage, because the Provincial Directorate of Education was not accessible at those times. During the pandemic time, students were not able to go out, and the most effective and efficient working field was our library. And before pandemic, we have launched it, but the pandemic really accelerated our position. And we have recognized the ongoing situation.
Projects regarding digitalization. I would like to especially thank you. Right now, all my colleagues, I listened to all their presentations. I would like to start together with their presentation. The presentation I started is digitalization in cities. A lot of things were told. I won't talk about too much. In the 1980s, information and communication becoming digitalized and going on with so many populations increase took place in the world in 4 or 5 years with 50 million subscribers and followers and pages. This internet advanced forward fast as nobody could estimate. And this rapid entrance in the 21st century, this intelligent city concept came in, big data took place, and this data being used as open data and together with application, our cities have become very different. Together with the pandemic, technology is real and it placed its stamp in this age. Digital solutions perhaps are much more precious for us, and the ones which are required, we are far away from our schools, from our relatives, where we were far from them, we could access. The pandemic actually showed us how valuable the applications are. A leap took place. It was a very good leap. Digitalization, much faster and futuristic things took place. Individuals, government, and cities, digitalization, the pandemic, within years it took place, and how it felt a requirement, and we could succeed throughout years. We experienced a digital leap. We could see the digital transformation is still going on. Our colleagues have spoken about digitalization and with their widespread usage in the world. Individuals are placed in the center. There's a governance, a participatory democratic parliamentary systems. The participation of individuals and groups is very valuable for democracy. And this much digitalization has a great value, and the widespread usage and online use and access to information is very valuable, and information is shared so much that as in translations are done and digitalization information, we have come to manage these cities. Technology is different in the 50s and 60s. The society's IQ average has increased by these tests and growing logarithmically. Social justice was developed, but for evil to be done, for information and access to very large masses, will bring justice from many angles. Widespread in the 1980s, I know there's a statistics, the poverty limit was in the 50s, and now it's gone down to 15%. The hunger limit, this statistic in the world, is very important. In the 60s, the per capita food quantity has quadrupled, and falling of this hunger limit means that in terms of the malicious intent disappearing, is important for a more just society. The awareness in the world and very individual things took place. Together with the internet, developing level shortly reached a much higher level than what was considered. The use in Turkey, in the world, has increased up to 59%. Together with 2021, it will logarithmically grow. And being mobile is very valuable. Having user mass companies such as Stanley, and this work is very valuable for cities that pay attention to individuals. The intelligence of the city, the increase of the IQ of the city is very valuable. What we need to pay attention, and when doing this, I asked about the library, how many people use. When developing the IQ of the city, we need to have the users access the IQ of the city, the energy infrastructure, security, and the management of wastes. When we look at components of smart cities, the users must also be very valuable. We need to manage it with a certain intelligence and strategy. We need to create the big data of the city. It should be usable with open data and many applications and IoT, the Internet of Things, with the communicable applications. I think we'll come to a better place. Digitalization in the world is developing by establishing a smart city from scratch is different than converting a normal city into a smart city. The re-establishment of intelligent cities will develop in a more different way, but what's ideal, the cities which have an ancient way to make them smart, to make it easier to live, should connect the past and the future. I think they're valuable in that sense. Many examples of fully intelligent cities to be re-established are valuable, but what's really important is to make cities valuable together with our grandparents, together with the ancient parts of the city, to make them applied locally. Istanbul started digitalization very well in 2019 and 20, together with the data. As of 2010, there are many applications which took place. Istanbul has serious applications in terms of smart cities on a small scale. We are trying to do this in our township. Digitalization in Tuzla took place starting in 2010. There was not only iOS with certain applications. We even did a Symbionos application, but the most important thing we did, we're working with DigiCants, but as all the mayors, there's a smart city automation system and an infrastructure together with IP switchboards. There are fiber networks everywhere in our city. We have mobile Wi-Fi networks and services, and all of the web applications of the municipality are accessible for the public. We have our corporate infrastructure, including electronic management system, acceleration of electronic signature, and being able to store information and being able to access the data very quickly. And the white desk is a very old application of our city. We converted white desk to e-white desk, and with applications and from the communication center, following monitoring this issue 724, we have a digital medium communication was sustained. We have a desktop field application. Our mobile applications are all present. Our mobile LED screens, LED signboards are sensitive to the environment, that don't harm the environment, and we're able to develop our relations with our citizens. Our mobile white desk application, we can easily carry it to any point. Our instant, within half an hour, we can create a culture center anywhere. Together with a mobile crisis center, we can intervene at any crisis with the safe school and safe park applications. We can create safe parks and by paying attention to individual liberties. Actually, we can have innovative applications for our smart cities. And when running applications, the sociological groupings and based on their own requests by following the personal liberties laws. We have a European Union project where we will carry out the e-government services. We paid a lot of attention to them, and we have many services where e-government applications with the Tuzla Municipality website. We have a smart card, Tuzla card application, 180,000 for 18 years of age and over. It's a smart card that we give to everyone. There are 300,000 smart Tuzla cards. It's a digital card. And thanks to this card, we can have many applications, and whatever we will do, we can offer it with the card application. Let's say there's a family which is needy when doing their aids, so we can take advantage of our pools, a bowling ball, and ice skating. There are 9 or 10 social services. They can use them free of charge. This is where we can do our assistance. And there are 500 to 600 establishments provide discounts from Tuzla, Istanbul, or anywhere in Turkey. We can give this card and contact the Tuzla municipality. The Tuzla card application is a great application. It has many possibilities and it's open to some raw data. We also try to enter the blockchain application. We will be one of the first municipalities to do it. Everybody is doing with crypto money. It's a software technology. It's safe. It's secure. It's hard to hack, but everybody knows what everybody did, and it's more secure and it's transparent. We talked about governance. Fatih spoke about this. Governance is very important. Governing by adding people is much more valuable than taking everybody's idea, running a business. You could see the results of that business. We tried to develop an application with the blockchain infrastructure. When you ask us, or whatever the solution may be, we ask together, we decide together, and we are going to apply it together. This is how our work started. With the points that our citizens win with the Tuzla card, and you can use it in a transparent manner. It should be transparent, and we should ask our decisions and all the young people and our citizens that download this application, how this should be done. The transparent decision processes, I think it's very important for governance. In our age, I will see if you show it. If I say, I will hear it, but if you add, I will understand. The mobile public voting fully, when we ask the citizens and all the answers we receive, we look at the percentage. We can have 120,000 people, and with the results we get, we do an application. Digital library. Since 2010, we have a digital library, but right now, in this application, in your iPads and the application for the blind. The T is free from us. This application we are carrying out for 12 years. We have a library for every house. We have 380 publishing houses with 33 different categories. In every house, we can have a library for every house. There are about 3,000 applications, and hopefully we will use it rapidly this year. In 2019, we had promised, together with the Digital Transformation Office, we have a pilot application. 5,100 families are doing it online. The digital family in every area is able to receive information. The smart city automation systems can be used in all the digital areas. We provide digital training. We have been doing this for 1 year. It's continuing with 5,100 families, and Digit Family project is continuing. The more we can make the city smart, no matter what, yes, if the e-government door is open, that's the purpose of this project. Thank you. I will answer all your questions. Thank you very much to Şadi Bey, especially it's very deep, and at this point, actually, when talking about efficiency, our subject, I would like to give
and she's the coordinator of traffic efficiency research, I guess. Susan, we would be grateful if you give firstly a little bit brief information about your institution and then go on with your presentation. Thank you.
Yes, Taneden. So good morning from Belgium. So I am now starting to share my slides. Can you see them? Yeah. Okay, I'll put them on full screen so I can start. So good morning from Belgium. It's really great to be here to talk about the how local government is working with transport data. So I'm really going to zoom into transport data, the transport domain and data in contrast to the previous presentations which addressed digitalization more from the city government perspective. So first, a few words about the organization that I represent, so you know where I'm coming from. So I work for an organization called Polis, which is a network of city and regional authorities promoting sustainable mobility and transport innovation. So we have close to 100 members, mainly from Europe, but we have a few members outside Europe. We are a service-based organization. We offer three main types of services to our members. So the first is that we facilitate the exchange of experience and knowledge amongst our members, and the main vehicle for that are the working groups. We have about 10 or 12 different thematic working groups. So for instance, in the area of environment and health, we have a working group on active travel, so walking and cycling and health. And we have another working group on clean vehicles and air quality. So there's this big move towards the electrification of the transport system in Europe and I think globally. I lead on the area that is called traffic efficiency. So I have a dedicated working group, and there I deal with issues such as, or topics such as intelligent transport systems, traffic management, digitalization, data, mass and automation. Now moving on to the main part of my presentation, so data, transport data. We talk a lot about data. We talk a lot about the value of the data economy. We talk a lot about technology solutions, but we should never lose sight of for what purpose? What is the purpose of that data? And here I've identified 5 broad functional areas, I guess, in which data plays a central role. Firstly, planning and policy making, of course, we need to understand how people are moving around on our network, how they are using public space. We need that data to be able to shape and evaluate the policies that cities are implementing. Enforcement, there are more and more regulations related to access of vehicles to cities, but also to other types of new modes such as e-scooters. We need data again, and there we're using a lot of systems, mainly cameras, in order to enforce. Information services is obviously a big area for which we need a lot of transport data. A new area, customer service and operational efficiency. I think there's huge potential to use data to improve the customer service. And the final domain relates to management of the transport system. So we need to be able to monitor traffic, and we need to be able to monitor the fleets of mainly public transport vehicles, but other types of vehicles. And behind each of the diagrams that you can see on this screen, there is a story about how a city or a region has used data to really to solve a problem, to respond to a need, or to really help to achieve a goal. And I'm going to go into detail on some of them. That's what I was asked to do. So the first relates to planning and policy making. And what you can see on this slide are some heat maps from the London Borough of Hackney. So Hackney is one of the 30 odd boroughs that makes up the wider London region. And they wanted to understand better how cyclists are using the road network in their city. So they managed to get data from a cycling app, which various cyclists, many cyclists had downloaded. And if you look to the left map, so the red lines you can see are depict the cyclists moving on the roads. The thicker the red line, that means that there's a greater amount of cyclists using that particular road. And what this heat map revealed is that the roads that are mostly used by cyclists do not necessarily align with the cycling network that the council had actually envisaged. So that was already one very useful insight. In crunching the data a bit more deeply, the council also managed to see some gender differences in terms of the route choices that are made by male and female cyclists. So what the data revealed were that men tended to cycle on those roads where there was heavier traffic, whereas women preferred roads where there was lighter traffic. Moving on to the second area, so which is about improving operational efficiency and customer service. I have two examples, one from London and one from Brussels. So on the London Underground, the metro of the London region, there is a lot of overcrowding in many underground stations, especially during the rush hour, the morning rush and the evening rush hour. And this is inconvenient for passengers, but it's also a safety issue because some of the underground stations are very small. Their platforms are very narrow because some of these stations are like 100, 150 years old. So what London Underground did at selected station was to display posters, so nothing digital about this, but they displayed posters in selected stations showing the passenger throughput during the morning rush hour. So that's depicted by the bar chart that you can see to the left of the slide. This shows the morning rush hour, and we can see that the busiest time at this particular station is between 8:15 and 8:30. And what London Underground wanted to achieve, and actually did achieve, was a levelling out of this peak. So the same amount of passengers use that station during the morning rush hour, but they travel earlier or later. The second example comes from Brussels, to the right of the slide. So the Brussels public transport operator, the STIB, experiences around 20 to 25 bus breakdowns every day. Of course, this is a big inconvenience to passengers, and it's very disruptive for the management of the public transport network more generally. Brussels decided, or the public transport operator decided, to do some data analysis to see if they could understand what the cause of these bus breakdowns were. So they looked at different data sets. So, for instance, vehicle sensors, network breakdown data, route, the type of route driven, and also the capacity of those buses. And what they discovered was that those buses that were breaking down mainly were the buses that were being deployed on those routes where there were steep roads. So this then led to the decision to improve the rotation of buses amongst the different routes. Now, the third area I want to talk about is information services. Here, I'm not going to provide examples of cities and the technologies that they're using. I think in the first presentation, we saw some pictures of the different types of technology solutions that are being used. But I think this is a fascinating area because it's an area where we have seen two waves of digitalization. And this is my own, I guess, personal observation. So the first started, I guess, about 20 years ago. Cities are implementing a lot of electronic systems to manage traffic, to manage the public transport services, the public transport fleets, and this data on the whole stayed in those systems. So about 25 years ago, what city administrations decided to do was to get this data out of the systems and to convert them into information services for users. So, we can see some of the types of services that are provided to users. So information about roadworks, real-time parking availability, information about the departure, arrival of public transport. So this is what I call the first wave of digitalization. The second wave of digitalization in the information service area happened around about 2010 when the open data movement kicked off. And by open data, what I mean is when public authorities decided to put public data into the public domain for reuse by others. So this started about 2010. So all the data that was used to provide the various information services was then made available on the data stores or the open data portals that many cities and regions are creating. So there have been two main outcomes of this open data process. The first is that, of course, now we have a lot more mobility apps that have been enabled by public sector data. We have simple monomodal apps right through to the more complex multimodal apps where people can plan, book and pay for a trip. But I think the second outcome, which for me is the most fascinating, is that this open data movement has really revealed or has led to a realization that data is an asset that it has value. It's not just a byproduct of systems. It's an asset that has value and that it should be curated. So that has led to this realization within local government that we really need to improve our data literacy. We really need to build our capacity. So where are we today? There are still many challenges and many gaps. We still see that data is largely underexploited and that data skills are lacking. But it is improving. And we see, especially in the bigger cities, that they're really starting to get a grip on data, setting up data teams, bringing in data analysis. But that's not necessarily the case for the smaller cities. Despite the plethora of data that is out there, that's held by public administrations, but that's also out there in the market, we still see that there is data lacking, especially data related to the flows of pedestrians, cyclists, and public transport users. There are still many data silos. There's not that much data sharing happening within administrations and across agencies, even within a given city. There is more and more data sharing that's happening, and local authorities are acquiring more and more data from the market. So we know that the data market has grown quite significantly. And this is leading to the question that a lot of public authorities are asking: what is our role in this data, this digital ecosystem? What do we do ourselves and what do we leave to the market? And the last challenge I see relates to legacy systems. A lot of the electronic systems that cities have are very old. Some of them are 20 years old, 25 years old. So this makes it very, very difficult and costly to open and integrate the data. So what are we doing within Polis to support our members? Well, firstly, we're really facilitating the sharing of experience amongst our members about their data activities. So to the right of this slide, you can see some lessons learned from Paris's data activities. Some people from the city of Paris came along to a Polis meeting and spent an hour and a half talking about their data activities, what they'd learned. We don't have time to go through them, but there are some really interesting findings and lessons learned. We're also running some workshops for our members about how to digitize data. It may sound a bit of a contradiction, but not all data is machine readable, not all data is standardized, and there is this drive, there is this push in Europe to really make data available in this machine readable and standardized format. So we're mainly looking at 3 types of data in the first instance. So we're looking at traffic regulations, so speed limits, vehicle access regulations and the like. We're looking at infrastructure data, so especially spatial attributes, and we're looking at traffic management strategies. So what plans do cities adopt in the event of an accident or a congestion or roadworks? And finally, we're also establishing a dialogue between our members and the European Commission, because there is more and more European legislation which is mandating accessibility of public sector data. So you can see some of the legislative initiatives that are already implemented or already expected. And before I close, I just very briefly wanted to mention 2 studies that were commissioned by the European Investment Bank. One of them relates to data sharing or the acquisition of data by local government. This should be published very soon, and it was quite a fascinating journey to interview cities about how they acquire data, what are the pros and cons, but also to interview lots of other data experts. That will be published very soon. And the second study that I wanted to mention, this is already available, relates to urban ITS procurement. So within this study, we also investigated in depth 7 cases or 7 cities and their procurement of different types of electronic systems. You can see them mentioned on the slide here. So parking guidance system, automatic parking enforcement, traffic signals, and the like. And we come up with some recommendations and some principles for cities to overcome the various challenges and problems that they face when they do procure these systems, like vendor locking, like implementation delays and higher costs, limitations on reuse of the data. And I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. And if you want to know more about what European cities are doing in local government, then please come and join us at our conference in Gothenburg in December, which is planned to be an in-person event. Thank you.
Susan, that was a marvelous timing. Thank you very much. You did a great job. And it was very interesting to see how the data is being accomplished as an asset that has a value added. Susan Hadley'e çok teşekkür ediyoruz.
We would like to thank Susan Hadley for her speech, and seeing the data transformation, the value and also added value, and seeing data as an asset was a very good example. From Sakarya Municipality, we will listen to Veysel Çıplak. From Sakarya Municipality, we do have an interesting example. They do have an action plan. They are a pioneering municipality, and they have been awarded with Golden Ant of Marmara Municipality Union. You will be a very great example, and we will close our panel session with you. My name is Veysel Çıplak. I am the Department Head of Strategy Development. First of all, I would like to thank each and all of the participants for their presentations. Here, I am going to share the digital application. I'm not going to share the digital application or a specific project of Sakarya Municipality. In specific with local governments, I am going to speak about the smart city paradigm of Sakarya Municipality and how we should speak about that.
At the start, Fatih has mentioned something very good, what a smart city is. There are smart cities which are very important, but one should look at all of it as smart cities. The point of view of the Sakarya province, it runs all the modules, and they do this within the scope of a strategy. They did an action plan and they announced it, and the revisions are continuing. Yesterday, I participated in a meeting, and when discussing these smart cities, we are speaking of them for a purpose. As municipalities, we are not theoreticians, we are not technology companies. We are from A to Z, from birth to death, and after death, the cemetery services. From this point of view, the timing, the management, the new methods are very important. We have some resource problems at the start. That's why I would like to speak about this somewhat. Based on current data, 4% of the land is used for cities, and 75% of natural resources and energy are consumed in cities. And in the meeting of the UN, it's a new subject for Turkey. Climate change is used, and climate change also needs to be managed. And in the coming days, and in terms of local governments, it's very important. 80% of carbon emissions are in these cities, and it's very important for that point of view. At this point, when the smart city work is being done, what we call smart cities is not just technological applications, or will it be managed with all its risks and advantages. The Sakarya Metropolitan Municipality has a smart cities project, and the priority here is a point of view, and when starting, we need to have a citizen satisfaction as a tool that facilitates their life, and we created a paradigm, and together with all the employees we tried to design the process here. We need to create an awareness, because in this smart city and digital transformation it has a great advantage. If you don't plan it well, there are important cost risks, and you need to manage this. There's a strategic action plan, and in terms of managing citizens and resources, this paradigm actually takes place along with the citizens. And here, naturally, since the management is important, this is how we did the design. Okay, it's a smart city. What is our purpose? Along with the increase of population, physical, social, and cultural requirements of the city, and along with the change to technology, with digital transformation, and the increase in population can be done with some digital changes. But strategically, we need to properly manage it. Our basic limitation is the determination of priorities, the increase in population, and we need to manage this well, and we need to the smart city, along with the environment, the transportation, with the arrangement of the city, it should be prepared properly and managed right. The solution when running this, what is the situation that the government needs to take place? During strategic planning, this is a criteria. When energy action plans are being done, it's important. I'll give you another example. Earlier, there were some transportation master plans. In traditional master plans, it's traffic and the speed of the traffic in the city. And those who are doing this are looking at this as engineering and as vehicles. Right now, we are talking about traditional transportation master plans. We're talking about sustainable city mobility. When determining these requirements, wide participation is needed with a good ecosystem The priorities of the city must be determined. Yes, digital change, when the resource planning, does it fit the priorities of the city? A plan and resource cycle is required. We try to do this in our municipality. There are important risks there. You do a design, a smart city design, which requirements are high priority, and as far as use of resources should be designed properly. There are some risks also should be managed properly. Priorities should be fully determined. Otherwise, you can have some source losses. Participation should be at the high level. Legal and local requirements should be properly well. And there are some examples in our life. In certain situations, if it's not properly planned, certain changes that should answer, it can turn into a technological waste yard. It should be planned properly. After properly designing any application, the biggest risk, you make a very big investment, you can have a good design, you can do a digital transformation which are needed. If the data management and human resources, if you are weak in that situation, application can be a problem. When looking at the smart city management, design should be done properly. Does it fit our resources? When we go on the field, are these processes running? Do you have qualified people to use it? Otherwise, you need to plan this. You can do a big investment without the data. If a project is done on data, on artificial intelligence, it should be done properly. In this situation, the application should be properly planned. Operational risks should be managed properly. We need to look on a flash basis, not as a new thing. It should be taken into consideration as a tool. Our purpose is to facilitate the people's life. The tool is the technological developments. If we use it as a tool, then we should clearly define what the task is. It should run cost effectively. The entire process should be integrated with one another and should create value. In local governments, we see that when more than one investment is done, if they're not speaking to one another, if they're not integrated, if the data is not flowing, then when it should be having higher social benefit, you can see that it is completely unusable. That's why planning is very important when designing, when determining priorities, when considering certain risks and applications. And human resources is very important here. And when we designed it, we did the application with some preliminary work, and we established teams in every area. These teams are assessing the point that the world wants to come to, that Turkey does, and the priorities of our city were worked together. And we designed as job descriptions, and these processes, whether should we manage them with traditional old methods, or if we are doing this, are there areas which need to be improved? Well, there may be a system, but it may not be run properly. What the risks are, what should be done. We went over the entire process rapidly, and we had an action plan. The fieldwork was done, it was reported, and the Sakarya Municipality's action plan came out. All the units, how many municipalities processes took place, we put them on the table. What the current situation is, what is the reason for it. If it continues like that, what the risks are? Is there intelligent, smart application? Are the data here run properly? And all with the participation of the related personnel are used in designing, and we did a resource planning. Let's say we have an application, and this application is SOCOS, the mass transit system of Sakarya, and the buses are managing what the entrances are, which stops does it meet. And they can do a transportation planning, at what time a person should leave their house. It's a process, it's an application. Let's say that this application we put on the table, should we improve anything? Is there a need for a new technological investment, or if it's very good in this current situation, we need to continue it? And our action plan is done if there's a there's a resource planning which is needed, and the purpose here you should meet them in the best way. And the local governments, when they put these processes together, they can be efficient and suited to requirements in a cost-effective manner. After these processes, Sakarya's smart city strategy was prepared. There are 24 targets here, objectives, and they can speak to one another in an integrated manner, and it's suited to local governments. And we announced this in 2019. How are the results of this? The strategic plans are up in the air. They may not be applied, and fully we have shared this with the stakeholders and all the personnel and people living in the city with their support. Right now, it's an actively running strategic action plan, and everybody is happy about this. They know the priorities, they know the area in which they will invest, what type of problems exist, and because we designed it in this way, and since it's going to eliminate certain risks in this way, it's a process that's running efficiently. Only as a heading, I wanted to show it as a visual. The most important thing is humans. We did a smart city definition. I'm running through these slides rapidly because we no longer have any time. If you are curious, you can look at the rest of the presentation, and we can bring them together under the project of Smart City. This is my presentation in terms of time. Thank you very much, especially on the planning and on risks. You can do planning. A realistic situation is done. It's a strategy that sits on the requirements of the city. It's very important in terms of smart cities. Thank you for this valuable example. Open data was underlined, and it's offered for the utilization of all the stakeholders. And with the ethical protection of data, it's very important. We have 7 minutes now. There are a few questions which are coming. We can answer these questions with only 1 minute each. There's a question for Fatih. Was there an index of smart cities in Turkey created? Is there an index of smart cities in Turkey? Yes, the Ministry of Environment and City Urban Planning It has not been published yet. It's at the level of the ministry, being evaluated right now in terms of technological transformation, and along with the other activities, it's a question and answer with the information they received from municipalities. This is not a contest. Whichever municipality is doing an application, municipalities should compete against one another. Where was I in the previous index and what type of improvements I am doing for the next index? Thank you very much. Şadi, we have a question for you. Rather than application, when we're working on application in these smart city applications, how do you perceive the citizens of the city, and how do you repair this digital gap between the citizens? We do not have any distinction here. What we call digi-family, the people who are computer literate. Now we have digital literacy, how people will receive the information and how they will run the procedures. By selecting, we have determined a system in the entire society. That is the actual problem. If a person's status in school can be looked at, therefore, when we select 5,100 families, we do not distinguish them. Every family, every socioeconomic and socio-cultural group should have things that they need to learn in digitalization. Years ago, I'm a medical doctor. One of our teachers has said, if computers and softwares, if you do not know them, you can't be a doctor later on. That's the point at which we're at. And many professional groups such as architecture, engineering, citizenship will also require digital literacy. They will have problems in citizenship. Therefore, all the groups of the society, all the groups, by providing priorities for those who require, especially the youth, must be trained by interacting with one another like a dominoes. We started with 200 youth and there were 400, and they had an interaction with other families. The entire society we're trying to access, we have no distinction. Everybody should know, as much as everybody should do. There's a digital literacy that we're working on, and the presidency ICT office is a pilot study, and we can spread it all over Turkey. I can't hear. I'm very sorry. There's one final question. It's an interesting question for a closing. They say, we're talking about a virtual world, and in smart city virtualization is accelerating, but on the physical areas and the physical interaction of people, how will they be managed in this process? I'll take one sentence from each of you. Şadi, let's start with you. Yes, this is a very good question. I mentioned it in my presentation. Rather than establishing a new smart city, the values that are integrated with nature, with ecological balance, eco-technological cities are very valuable. The ecology of the city and the human relations must not be interfered with, but they should be absolutely, when we say modern people, that accept the information technologies, facilitating life in order to provide a longer life. Rather than spending 1 day at the municipality, you can handle it in 1 minute through digital technologies. You can spend the rest of your time in the social environment and the parks. Digitalization can also eliminate many procedures and including obtaining information, everything about the people's life. You can gain life and live longer and live humanly. So facilitation process. We can put our virtual glasses on and live together. It's to be removed from the environment. Very futuristic thoughts can take place. Stronger, healthier, and more informative and more intelligent people should be created, but we should stop human values. Actually, here we should take people into the focus by keeping at the rational level their requirements. It's a method, and the populations, there should be a digital transformation that's suited to the needs of the population, not just a digital city, but a smart city. Fatih Bey. The chairman expressed it very well. I should just say that digitalization means that a handicapped individual, we gave him everything and he should sit home. Not like that, but he can handle his affairs in a different way, so he can go out and run around. We don't want to close him down in handicapped for people who use baby buggies. It's very important.
Geldiniz mi buraya? Pardon, görmedim sizi. Buyurun, buyurun lütfen siz de buyurun.
Tabii.
For physical communication, for communication between people, it's something that creates time. Digitalization, smart cities and digitalization means that happiness, peace, and having more successful, effective work. It provides a means for this. Therefore, from digitalization, you should not be scared of it. Just the opposite. Digitalization means that people can have good times with one another. For physical communication, it's going to provide time and create time, and it is creating time. We are unfortunately out of time. Thank you very much.
But it was a pleasure listening to all of you. Hepinize çok teşekkür ediyoruz bu nazik.
We thank all of you for participating in our invitation. We hope to see you in the new MARUF.